Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most mysterious and unexplained deaths in recent history, the case of the Isdal woman. In November 1970, a woman's body was found in Isdalen Valley, Bergen, Norway. Despite a thorough investigation, her identity and the circumstances of her death remain a mystery to this day. The Isdal woman was dressed in expensive clothing and had taken sleeping pills. But it's the strange details of the case that have left many people wondering what really happened. For one, the woman had multiple false identification documents on her, leading many to believe that she was trying to conceal her identity. Additionally, her face was disfigured, making it difficult to identify her. And perhaps most mysteriously, a large amount of burnt money was found near her body. So what really happened to the Isdal woman? There are a few main theories surrounding her death. One of the main theories surrounding the death of the Isdal woman is that she committed suicide. This theory is based on the fact that a partially burnt note, which was interpreted as a suicide note, was found near her body. The note contained coded messages and the authorities were unable to decipher its meaning. The false identification documents and disfigurement of her face were also seen as evidence of a suicide attempt, as the woman may have wanted to conceal her identity before taking her own life. However, the lack of information about the contents of the suicide note, as well as the presence of the burnt money and the disfigurement of her face, has raised questions about whether this was a straightforward suicide. It's possible that the woman was in a state of desperation and that she took her own life as a last resort, but the other evidence found at the scene suggests that there may have been more to the story. Critics of the suicide theory point out that the disfigurement of the woman's face, which would have been a painful process, is inconsistent with a suicide attempt. They argue that it's more likely that someone else was involved in the woman's death, and that the disfigurement was an attempt to conceal her identity. While the theory that the Isdal woman committed suicide cannot be ruled out, the lack of information about the contents of the suicide note and the presence of other evidence at the scene raises questions about whether this was indeed a straightforward suicide. The exact circumstances surrounding the woman's death remain a mystery to this day, and the possibility of suicide is just one of the many theories that have been put forward over the years. Another theory surrounding the death of the Isdal woman is that she was murdered. This theory is based on the evidence that was found at the scene, including the false identification documents, the disfigurement of her face, and the burnt money. All of these factors suggest that someone was trying to cover up the crime. The presence of the burnt money and false identification documents suggest that someone was trying to conceal the woman's identity, which is consistent with a murder scenario. It's possible that the woman was involved in some sort of criminal activity or had information that put her life in danger, leading to her murder. Alternatively, she may have been murdered by someone she knew, such as a romantic partner or someone she was associated with in some way. It's also possible that the woman was targeted by an individual or group with a motive to kill her, such as a rival criminal organization or a political group. The possibility of murder is just one of the many theories that have been put forward over the years, and more evidence would be needed to determine the exact circumstances surrounding the woman's death. A third theory surrounding the death of the Isdal woman is that her death was accidental. This theory is based on the fact that the woman was found in a remote area, where it's possible that she could have fallen and suffered a fatal injury. For example, she may have slipped and fallen while hiking or been involved in another type of accident. Critics of the accident theory point out that the disfigurement of the woman's face, the false identification documents, and the burnt money were all found at the scene, and these factors suggest that someone was trying to cover up the crime. In addition, the lack of information about the woman's movements prior to her death, as well as the presence of the coded note, suggests that there may have been more to the story. It's possible that the woman was involved in some type of activity that led to her accidental death, such as hiking or exploring the area. Alternatively, she may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, and her death was a result of a freak accident. However, the other evidence found at the scene raises questions about whether this was indeed a straightforward accident. And finally, some have suggested that the Isdal woman was involved in espionage. This theory is based on the coded note that was found in her pocket, as well as the fact that she was traveling under false identities and had multiple passports with her. Critics of the espionage theory point out that while the coded note and the false identities suggest that the woman may have been involved in some sort of covert activity, there is no concrete evidence linking her to espionage. In addition, the disfigurement of her face and the burnt money were all found at the scene, which raises questions about whether she was indeed a spy and whether her death was the result of her work in this field. It's possible that the woman was a spy for a foreign government, or she may have been working for a private organization. The coded note and the multiple passports suggest that she may have been involved in some type of covert operation, and her death may have been the result of her work in this field. The possibility of espionage is just one of the many theories that have been put forward over the years, and more evidence would be needed to determine the exact circumstances surrounding the woman's death. Despite the many theories surrounding the Isdal woman case, the exact circumstances of her death remain a mystery to this day. The case has captured the imagination of people for decades, and it's likely that we'll never know the full truth about what happened to the mysterious Isdal woman. That's it for today's video. Let us know in the comments which theory you believe is the most likely explanation for the death of the Isdal woman. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more interesting content like this. See you next time.